What's up everyone, Darcblade here with another guide for Monster Hunter World. In this video we're going to explain what Affinity is. Now Affinity is a stat you'll find on various weapons and gear. However, Affinity plays a major part in the overall endgame meta of Monster Hunter World. Affinity will decide how likely it is that your weapon will deal additional damage beyond your weapon's main base damage. Whilst it may have implications and similarities to critical hit damage stats in other games, there is also more to it. For example, every single weapon in Monster Hunter World has its own affinity stat, normally starting at 0%. However, as you start crafting more and more weapons, you'll find that they'll either have negative or positive affinity stats, going up to 100% or minus 100%. Now, as already mentioned, a positive affinity rating is how likely the weapon will deal additional damage. Every time the affinity stat procs, allowing you to deal that extra damage, that damage is normally 25% of your base damage, whilst the negative one will result in your weapon potentially dealing weaker hits, which can potentially be lower than your base damage. Now, having a negative affinity doesn't always mean the weapon is bad. Normally weapons that have negative affinity have very high base damage. This is normally to make up for the negative affinity stat. But however, there are ways to amend negative affinity weapons. This can be either done through gems, or more commonly through armor and armor skills. Potentially a negative percentage affinity weapon can be made quite potent, even bringing it into the positive percentage again with the right gear. Now there are multiple calculations you can do to working out your average DPS with a weapon. For example, working out the average raw damage for a positive affinity weapon, you could use a formula as follows: 0.25 times by your affinity number, not the percentage, the number, and then divide that by 100, add 1 to the result, and then times that by the base damage to get your average damage. When it comes to negative affinity weapons as well, do the same calculation, but instead of the +1, do -1 instead. Now, these calculations are very basic. There are much more in-depth ones, and if you're interested in numbers and mathematical equations, then I encourage you to take a look, because you have to factor in other aspects such as food buffs, weapon sharpness, monsters' defenses, so on and so forth. There are so many factors. But as I mentioned, if you're looking to raise your affinity, there are armor skills. For example, affinity sliding. This will increase your affinity for a short time after performing a slide. Attack boost. At high levels, this raises not only your attack but your affinity as well. There's critical draw. That increases the likelihood that your draw attacks will land critical hits. And finally, there's critical eye, which overall just boosts your affinity. Now these are just some of the armor bonuses, and I'm sure there are more out there. But anyway, I hope this has given you a brief idea to what Affinity is in Monster Hunter World. And until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you a Monster Hunter World guide explaining what Affinity is. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.